let's get to our free demo tonight. I want to, as I mentioned, get back to my one-stroke painting roots. And we're going to go back into some flowers, which is where we really excel with one-stroke painting, is in flowers. So I'm going to be sharing with all of you a demo on it's a long stem rose with peach tones to it, which we don't really have in our plaid folk art multi-surface line. We don't really have a really good peachy color. We've got some pinky peach colors out there, and one's actually been discontinued, which is one of our favorites, plaid. But I'm going to share with you how to get a really pretty peachy color without too much difficulty, and then create this rose. So let's get going, let's get overhead, and we will get started. I'm going to dip my fingers into some water, get this dampened sponge, and then I'm going to pick up, I've got my colors all laid out here. I've got some soft apple, sap green, daffodil yellow, magenta, wicker white, and some floating medium. And these are all plaid folk art multi-surface colors. So with my dampened sponge, I'm going to pick up some of this soft apple. All right, and we're going to come here and just make circular motion, working this into the canvas. I picked a nice 6 by 12 canvas for this, which is a nice skinny canvas that will look real pretty with this painting that we're going to do. All right, so I'm going all over with that, and then I'm going to pick up some sap, just a little bit of sap green. All right, and so I want to darken the bottom of the canvas. And so what you want to do when you're doing something like this is you want to put the back part of the sponge that has no paint on it over the previously applied background, and then work the color with that sponge so that it softens. So see how I've got a pretty soft transition between the sap green and the soft apple. Okay, and so on the sides as well. And then we'll hit the bottom of this as well. Okay, so that's a 12 by 6 canvas, and we've got the background color applied. And I'm going to go ahead and take my sponge and stick it in, fold it up, stick it in my cubby to clean later. And I'm going to set this aside just for a few minutes while I share with you just some quick thoughts about these strokes for this flower. So I'm going to show you the flower again that we're going to create. And so this is that peach long stem rose, and we've got a couple of little buds here that I'm going to add as well. But I want you to look at these petal strokes. So these are a little bit different. They're smoother strokes, and they've got some points on them. Okay, so we're still doing our one stroke double loading, and it's multi-loading in this case to get this peachy color. And then we're applying the color with some smoother strokes instead of the tight wiggles that we normally do a cabbage rose with. So I'm going to share with you how we get this color and how we apply or create this particular stroke. And then once we get that, I'm going to go back to my canvas, which should be dry. Okay, so I have a 16 flat that I just got damp and laid on the paper towel. And now I'm going to take and create that peachy color. Okay, so you're getting peach by mixing these two colors together, which are magenta and daffodil yellow. All right, so more yellow, and you're going to brush mix those colors together, and see how that gives you that pretty little peachy color. A little bit more yellow. Now I'm going to come and side load some stronger yellow, and that's going to be my outside edge. Okay, then I'm going to come over here next to my white, and I'm going to side stroke to get a white edge and work that into my paint. dip into some floating medium, work that in. That's going to help us move, especially on paper and canvas. Okay? All right, so this is the stroke for the petal. And I'm going to come down a little closer with my camera. There we go. All right, so the stroke that I want to do is we're going to come from a chisel edge, we're going to apply pressure, and we're going to make a smooth move with a few wiggles out to a point, and then we're going to come back and stand up. So we're going to come down and stand up. So I'm going to come and slide next to my yellow, get my white, show you that again. We're going to come from here, a few movements with the brush on the flat, a pressure, and we're going to come back here and stand up. Okay, so that's the basic stroke. Now there's a few other little strokes we're going to do to create the inside and the back part of this. We're going to apply pressure here, little smooth movement, and stand back up. That's going to give us some background petals. And then our centers, we're just going to get a lot tighter. Okay, so still fairly smooth. We're not wiggling a lot with these. And we're going to do small little strokes like that. Okay. So question was, please tell me what colors you suggest for a yellow rose. That struggle is real for me. All right, so a lot of times I think we think that we have to use the bright yellows, and what you really want to do for a yellow rose, I would avoid using something like this daffodil yellow, which is really very bright yellow, as you can see here. If you want a yellow rose, I would recommend using more of yellow ochre and some white. Okay, and that I think will give you much better success. Okay, so let's come back up a little. And I want to share with you how we're going to lay out this rose. Okay, so I'm going to set that brush aside real quick, and I'm going to get some, that's still a little wet right in there, but I think we'll be okay. Come up just a little higher. There we go. All right. So I want my rose to sit pretty much right up in this area here. All right, now you probably can't see that, so let me get a pencil instead. It's best if you lay it out with chalk. Actually not, let me use a watercolor pencil, because then that will dissolve as I stroke my strokes. So I want to create my rose, and I want my center right up in here. Okay. I'm going to have to turn that light down a little bit, I think. So the back of the rose is going to be here, and my center is going to be pointing in this direction. All right, so it's a good idea, because this is tipped, it's a good idea to at least sketch out with chalk the rough size of your rose before you start applying the strokes, okay? And then we're going to have a stem come down, all right, and then we're going to have a little bud up here and another little bud down here, okay? And then we'll have leaves, and this bud is going to come and join up my stem right down there. Okay, so now that we have that laid out, we do start with our same loaded brush. And I don't want too much white on this just yet, because white's going to bring this forward. So we're going to stick with just our basic load, which is that blend I showed you, right? To get that peachy color, you've got magenta and daffodil yellow, and then we're going to side stroke some stronger yellow for my outside edge, and I'm going to work in. I don't want that yellow so much. I'm going to work in some white. But I don't want to side load that white where it's sticking and out and bright and vibrant yet. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. All right, so we're going to come around and we're going to stroke the outside petals on this. So let's start right here. And I'm going to come down again. There we go. So pressure as we apply the stroke. You want to make sure that you are at least half sprung, and we're making smooth moves, and we're going around the back edge of that petal or of that flower. All right. Now I want to actually push, let's get a little more of this peach color, excuse me, here, because I want this to be more of that and not quite so much yellow out on that back edge. So we can restroke that, and that will give me the color I'm looking for. It's not flat. You can actually add just a little bit more magenta to that center to get a little bit darker. There we go. Okay, so I'm not going to stroke that anymore. All right, so let's come back here. We're going to get our colors and we're going to work our way around this. So let's come through here, smooth strokes, and we're going to stand up. All right, now I want to come through, before I put in this back stroke, I want to come on this side right here. And we're going to apply pressure and make that stroke movement around, because the reason I'm skipping is I want to put one right here that overlaps those and then comes into towards my center. Okay, now I'm going to start picking up or side stroking and working in that white. I want to lighten this edge as we start to come around. So I've got my back petals in, and I'm going to start working on the front petals. So we're going to continue coming around this way. And as we do, remember this is just the bottom skirt, okay? So we don't have any points in these just yet. These are just smooth strokes. We're going to come through here and stand up, and then we'll finish. Now we're going to start to add this point. All right, so we're going to come from right here, and we're going to come down to a point right there, and then continue to the right with the rest of that petal. Okay, so we got a little bit of a point there. All right. Now you want to be careful that you're not tending towards too much of an orange color with this too. So keep making sure you're adding the right colors to get that blend. Okay. All right. So now let's side stroke some white, and I want to position my petal that's behind my center right there. Okay. And then keep side stroking that white, and we're going to come around from that point and add these layers of petals. So we're going to come here. Oops, I want to need a little stronger white. Here, point, and slide down. All right, so you see that little pointed petal there? Here, point, and slide. Now from here I'm going to overlap these. Let's get a little, I'm side stroking this white here, a little stronger white. We're going to overlap, we're going to come to a point there, and then we're going to push and slide into the center. All right, I got a little streaky right there. I'm just going to restroke that. All right, now let's come from here, point, and stand up. The thing I want to be careful with, and I'm tending to do this myself, is I don't want to be too perfect with these, right? So they shouldn't be all exact same points. So you want to get a little bit looser with this now that you've seen the stroke. And so we're going to come in here, maybe create a little bit more movement and have a little more fun with this, okay? So continuing now, I want to create my center. All right, so inside, I'm going to bring this up just a little bit because there's a little bit of a glare. Inside here. So I'm going to lay in my back pedal for my center. And I keep stroking, let's move this over here. Keep stroking that color next to the white. And so what we want to do is really get a tight, let's bring this out a little more and then down. There we go. We want to get a tight center. And so we're making very small little curled strokes. See that? I just made a little like V shape there. And then another one here. And they're very subtle because they're tight and they haven't hit the light yet. Okay. So a bit of white in there and a little bit right there. All right, now we want to stand up the front of our center. So we're going to come from over here and we're going to slide down, a little bit of movement, and then stand up. Okay, now we're ready to start filling in the rest of the body of this rose. And so what we want to do at this point is tuck in petals coming from behind. I need a little bit stronger white. Let's turn this. Point and stand up. All right, from here, point and in. From inside that, we're going to come out and stand up. Now I'm losing my color, so and we want a little bit darker in the center. So I'm going to continue to mix that color and then come back here. A little bit of medium. There we go. So let's restroke this one here. There we go. I lost my load on my brush. All right, so now what we want to do is just start to fill in with little slices, okay? So coming from around that center and in the foreground, point and lift. See, I'm lifting that right corner of my brush. So here, lift that corner and pull it in, okay? Down here, we're going to do just a little slice. All right, and then to finish this up, let's turn this way, and we're going to slice right in front, lift that corner, and lay that white right there. Okay, and there we have our long stem rose. All right, so now I want to use those same colors. Let's back up just a hair, just so we can see for placement. And I want to get a little stronger, so a little more magenta to darken, and the yellow. You don't want white in here right now because that will turn that magenta pink. Excuse me, yeah, lighter pink. All right, so all that load on there, and we're going to add our little buds. All right, so these are going to be more of just looks or touches of color. So I'm going to push right here and stand up. Push and come across, right, like it's unfurling. And then we'll put a little bit right there. Let's get just a touch of white there. Okay. And then over here we'll do another one. there, and there. So these are going to be really tight and mostly calyx as shown around them. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that brush. Okay, and then I'm going to come and load my brush for my leaves now. So I'm going to work with sap green. And then I'm going to come over here next to my yellow and work that in. Let's push that across a little bit. I don't want that too dark. All right. So we've got yellow giving us a lighter shade of green. And I don't want yellow leaves because that would make them look like they're dying. All right, medium in there. There we go. Now, first thing I want to do is add the stem. So I'm going to find my center, come down, and just as we're outside that bottom petal on the chisel, and we're going to pull down and off the canvas. Okay, so straight up on that chisel, you don't want too much pressure. And then from here, we're going to push and stand and pull that stem back. And then here, we're not gathering at the base, all right? We're just touching below the bottom of that bud, okay? All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of magenta to my green corner here and work that in so that it tints my leaf colors to the tone of the rose, okay? Now from here, I'm going to add some calyxes. So I'm going to touch with my dark color down here, push, and stand up to a point. And see that pretty color, that pink adds into that. All right, and then same thing here, we're going to push and stand up. All right, and then I'm going to do just a short one right there. So we're just kind of letting a little bit of that peach color show through, and it's mostly the calyx around the outside. Right there. And maybe let's just bring this one out that way. Add a little curl to it. And if we're going to do that, let's do a little curl on that one right there too. Okay, so now all we have to do is start adding leaves. And leaves are fun because, especially with roses, they're usually in groupings of 3. And so what you want to do is really kind of lay these out. So let's pull out a stem right here. All right, and then off this stem, you're going to have a leaf here. You're going to have another leaf right there. And then, oh, let's put one back here. Okay. So this one, with the light green to the outside edge, and you're laying to the flat with pressure, and we're going to slide to the chisel. Okay. Now let's side stroke a little bit of white and that lighter green edge and work that in. Let's turn this. It's so much easier if you do. And then we're going to push and wiggle out to that tip. Okay, so now all we have to do is pull a stem into our leaf from that same place where we laid that stem in before. Okay, so the question was, can you explain on the chisel? So on the chisel is the end of our bristles. That's the chisel edge of the brush. So when you're on the chisel, you're standing up with no pressure on the tips of the brush bristles, okay? When you're applying pressure, then you're laying to the flat or the side, the back or front side of the bristles, and when we're doing that, we're actually adding some movement and then standing to the chisel. So back up to that chisel gives you that tip on the leaf. I'm going to come again and side load a little bit of white, and let's come right here and we'll stand up. So standing to that chisel releases the pressure and gives you a nice sharp point. Let's turn back to leading with the front edge of the brush, which is the light color here, and trailing the dark behind, pulling that stem into the leaf. Okay. So I'm hoping this is inspiring you to give this a try. Now my third leaf, let's get some more white here. I have my line over there. We're going to come right from here and wiggle that side. And then, so here's the thing. This has to come around, excuse me. This has to come around and into that leaf right there. So I don't want to get myself too bent in an awkward angle. And let's pull the lighter. Trail the lighter edge will give you the lighter color. So now we've got a couple of different leaves going on here. Okay. Add a little medium to the brush with that dark green. And let's come up here now. And we'll pull leaves this way on the chisel, making the markings for where our leaves are going to go. And then we'll put a third one right there. So right here, pressure and stand to the tip. Now I'm going to slide through. All right, and get a nice, pretty looking leaf right there. Now up here, I want this one to appear as though it's going away. So I'm not going to make it very big. Let's put a little bit of that magenta back into our brush load. Turn this way. And then we'll stand that up. And so see how that's giving the impression or the illusion that that leaf is moving away from us, kind of heading towards the back side of that stem. And then we'll finish up here, chisel, and then we're going to push and slide back to our stem. See those pretty colors with that magenta in there? Okay, so let's finish this up. We're going to add just a couple more leaves and we will call this done. So let's come down here and I'm going to do something just a little bit different. We're going to do a light side and then we're not going to flip the brush. So let's put a nice big leaf right here, wiggling out and then standing to the chisel to get that tip, picking up more color. And then what I'm going to do, let's turn the canvas again. Sorry for all this moving around. We're going to come through this way. So I'm going to have this side of my leaf with the dark side on the outside edge. And then we will stand up. And that's going to give us a really interesting variation in color on that type of leaf. There we go. Pull that stem in. All right, now to finish this up, I'm just going to add a few smaller leaves. We're going to push out and then push back and pull it back to our stem. Kind of add a few of the slider leaves in here. Let's get a little bit of white. So these are smaller leaves, a little bit of movement. And then let's come up here next to our bud. There we right here. And then one thing I wanted to do that I didn't do on my original that I think might make this look a little more realistic. Let's come from right underneath the edge of our rose. And we're going to pull a leaf, and I don't care for that. So let's try it this way. There we go. Okay, so it looks like it's coming from under the rose, and then we're going to pull a stem like that. So now we've got that, and I want to balance that with one here. And then we'll put one right there. Okay, so it's got a little skirt under it of some leaves, but it's important that you bring those stems right up to that edge so it looks like they're disappearing from under there. All right, so let's come back out and take a look at, I will get better with these camera movements, I promise. It's all new. So let's get a script liner now. We'll get a little inky sap green, and we'll come in here and sign this. I hope you found this lesson to be helpful and inspiring. I hope these strokes are challenging and something that you would consider trying. The other thing, if you're struggling with that slice that I was sharing with you, an angle brush works really well for that. And I'm just going to real quick, because some of you asked, I'm going to take, this is a 1/2 inch angle brush. And so let's get our same colors, mix up our peachy color. And then let's come and side stroke some white right here on the toe. All right, so if you're not familiar with the anatomy of an angle brush, this is the toe, this is the heel, right? So when the handle is straight, you're actually only applying the tip of the brush there. So with slices, if you're struggling when you're using a flat brush, consider an angle brush, because it will get the challenging part out of the way, which is that heel, right? So it lets you just lay in that tip of the brush to get the stroke. So let me show you here. I apologize if I'm jumping around here, but I just want to answer some of your questions. So coming through here, I've got my load. My toe is going to be my light color. And so if I want to lay in a little stroke that has a lighter edge on it, and I want it to look like a slice, you're going to start on the chisel. You're then going to lay to the back of the brush, make your move, and then lift away, and you're going to just have the toe of this is all that's going to be left on the surface. So it's going to give you that easy little slice that drops in just like that, right? A little bit of white. See that? And so as soon as this heel gets out of the way and just lets the toe of the brush bring that slice through, that really makes it a lot easier. So try it with an angle brush if you're struggling to get that front edge of the brush out of the way when you're trying to drag through little bits of light. Okay, little bits of petals. Either way. Okay, give that angle brush a try. All right, so this was our finished demo piece. This is our peach. Let me come out just a little more. This was our peach long stem rose. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope it inspires you to give this a try. So thank you guys so much for watching the demo tonight. Let's